Your objective is I can use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for the sides of a right triangle and apply my knowledge to multi-step word problems. This might be review for some of you, but if you skipped pre-algebra, then you really need to know the Pythagorean theorem. If you had me last year and you learned the Pythagorean theorem, you still need to know it, so we have to make sure that you understand it, and it's one of the things we don't teach in algebra that we need to know as 8th graders. Make sure you're taking notes and following along, because you will need to show me your notes before you will get the worksheet that you're going to be asked to work on. All right, so Pythagorean theorem only works with right triangles, and here's our properties of right triangles. That little box is a right angle, 90 degrees. You might want to write this part down, okay? The side directly across from the right angle is the hypotenuse, okay? And it's always labeled as the letter C. Then on the sides of my triangle, I have my legs, and they're leg A and leg B, and it doesn't matter which one is A, and it does not matter which one is B. Okay, so they're the legs. So the Pythagorean theorem it works for any right triangle, and it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if you remember from back to this picture, the a and b are the legs, so it's the length of both legs squared and added together equals the length of the hypotenuse squared. All right, so my thinking. Right now, when I first see a triangle, I'm going to label each side as A, B, C. All right, so my legs, I always start with the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is a right across from the right angle every time. That never changes, no matter what orientation my triangle is in. The hypotenuse is always C. Then the legs can be A and B. It does not matter. So this will be A, this will be B. Then I take my formula and I solve. So I have A squared plus b squared equals c squared is the formula. And I substitute in what I know. So A is 9, so 9 squared, plus b, which is 10 squared, equals c squared. All right? You should know that 9 squared is 81, and 10 squared is 100. Then I add 81 and 100 together to get 181 equals c squared. Okay, if you notice, c is still not by itself because it has the squared. So I need to do the opposite, which is the square root. The opposite of squared is square root. They cancel each other out. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. That's going to cancel out the squared and the square root. And then the square root of 181 is, I'm going to write it up here so you can see 13.453. We're going to round to the nearest hundredth. So this third number tells us for less, we're going to let it rest. So my answer is 13.45 equals C. Now, if I want to ask myself if my answer is good, C, the hypotenuse, always has to be the longest side. And so if you see 13.45 is longer than 10 and 9. But it also has to be smaller than both the legs added together. So if I add 10 plus 9, I get 19, and 13.45 is smaller than that. So chances are that I did the math correct. All right, this one's a little bit different, okay? Because if you notice, C is given to us this time. So 15 is actually C. We'll say this is A, this is B. Again, it does not matter which is A and B. So again, formula A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I expect you to write out the formula every time, at least for today. All right? So I substitute in what I know. I don't know A, so I'm just going to rewrite A squared. I know that B is 9, so 9 squared equals 15 squared. And then from here, I square everything. A squared stays A squared plus 81 equals 225. Okay, now it's like an equation. My goal is to get the variable by itself. So I'm going to subtract 81 from both sides. And I'm going to get 144. So A squared equals 144. Take the square root of both sides, and you should know that a is 12. Square root of 144 is 12. All right, so again, that still leaves the hypotenuse as the longest side, and then if I add 12 plus 9, I get 21, and 15 is smaller than that. Okay, so what you're really going to be doing today are word problems. Okay, so Pythagorean theorem in real life. When you are doing these word problems, you need to draw the scenario. Do not just draw right triangles and say that you're good to go, because it's not going to work. Okay? If it's talking about a door, you need to draw a rectangle because doors are rectangles. If it's talking about a square, then you need to draw a square. Okay? In this case, we're talking about like directions, so we need to go the right directions. So first things first, we're going to annotate everything. So Salemsburg is 17 miles south of Lynbrook. That's really important. And I'm going to make it a different color. Okay, Salemsburg is 17 miles south of Lynbrook. Lynbrook is 5 miles west of Pueblo. Carson lives 9 miles north of Lynbrook. How many miles will Carson have to drive altogether from his home to Salemburg if he stops in Pueblo? All right, so the important thing is to know your directions. So north, south are easy. North is up, south is down. And then west and east, the way I remember it is that it spells we. Oh my. Let's try that again. This is a struggle. Okay, so we have north, south, west, east. Okay. So we're going to start at the beginning. Salemsburg is 17 miles south of Lynbrook. So we're going to write, this is we'll say Lynbrook is here, and Salemsburg is south of that. So Salemsburg is down here, and it's 17 miles. All right. Lynbrook is 5 miles west of Pueblo, which means that Pueblo is 5 miles east of Lynbrook. So I need to go this way to get to Pueblo. All right, and that's 5 miles. I'm not going to label the miles. All right. And then it says Carson lives 9 miles north of Lynbrook, which means Carson lives up here, 9 miles north. This is where Carson lives, and that's a 9. All right, so right now I don't really have triangles, but you should be able to see that it's pretty easy to make them. So it says, how many miles will Carson have to drive altogether? And when you see the word altogether, often that means you're adding something. From his home, which is up here where C is, to Salemsburg, which is down here, but he's going to stop in Pueblo on the way. And so, yes, he could drive 9 miles, 5 miles, back 5 miles, down 17 miles, but that would be a lot longer of a trip than if he just drove the diagonals. So I'm going to make 2 triangles out of this. All right, and I'm finding C on both of these. So I need to find the hypotenuse on the first one, the hypotenuse on the second one, and add them together. So I'm going to give you a second to do that. So pause the video and figure out how many miles Carson's going to drive all together. When you're done, unpause it and check your answer. All right, so you should have gotten that Carson's going to have to drive 28.02 miles to get from his house to Salemsburg if he stops in Pueblo on the way. Make sure you're labeling your answers. Okay, and if you want extra bonus points from me, you can write a sentence, and that would be awesome. All right, show me, come bring me your notes. I want to see them. If you have any questions, let me know. And then you're going to work on this worksheet that will be due on Wednesday, I think.